huge pro wrestling fan, WWE and AEW. I follow mostly, but I follow New Japan a little bit as well. But I'm going to talk about my 5 favourite wrestling matches. Now, these are all WWE and AEW. As I said, I follow New Japan a little bit, but I haven't expanded my horizons much further than that. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time on my hands to just watch wrestling all the time. I have other things to do. But I do want to talk about these 5 matches because I wanted to get this off my chest. It helps you to get to know me a bit more. And like I said, it's not something I talk about very often, wrestling on the internet, because it's either a very toxic or a very lovely environment, depending on where you end up. So yeah, I'm just going to jump straight in. They're in no particular order apart from number 1. That is my favourite. But the other 4, not in any particular order. I'm just going to talk about them. So yeah, let's start off with number 5. Tyler Bate versus Walter at NXT Takeover Cardiff. This was, you'll notice a theme, don't worry. This was British strong style defined. This by far was probably the best NXT UK match that we got. Unfortunately, NXT UK is now disbanded, but this was a literal David and Goliath situation. The end result, you'd say, was predictable. We knew Walter was going to win, but the way they played it, it just made you believe that Tyler was gonna do it. There was that many, so many near falls. It was like 2.89 when he kicked out. It was absolutely incredible. It just kept going and going and going. It was like a 40-minute spectacle. I remember watching the pay-per-view. I think I watched it live when I came back from work one time. And I'm just watching it, you're doing that thing where you're multitasking, where you're watching the wrestling and you're doing whatever, going in the kitchen, this, that, and the other. And the main event came on. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a banger. And the more it went on, the more I put stuff down, the more I stopped paying attention to other things, the more my eyes just went straight to the TV. And this match just absolutely blew me away. Obviously, we know Walter is now Gunter in WWE, and he's doing amazing work as IC champion. So I'm out, fair play to the guy. And Tyler Bate, obviously now, last time we saw him was facing Bron Breakker for the unification of the NXT and NXT UK titles, which was also an absolute banger of a match. But yeah, this will probably be, if you talk about NXT UK, if you talk about it with a fan and they say what's your favourite matches, this is probably going to be on the list. So yeah, big shout out to this one. It was absolutely banging. Coming in at number 4 is see what I mean? There's a theme. Tyler Bate versus Pete Dunne. Now this was, I want to say it was NXT TakeOver Chicago, or it was Brooklyn 2. I can't remember, but it's the one where Dunne takes the title from Bate, and he starts off his absolutely meteoric run as NXT UK champion. So you can see I'm a big fan of Tyler Bate. I love Tyler Bate. He's absolutely amazing. You can see here he's in 2 of my favourite wrestling matches. But this match just told a story. Tyler won. He was the inaugural UK champion, and he held the belt for quite a while. So they finished their rivalry off because these pair were going at it for quite a lot. They were building up for this for a long time. And you could kind of see where they were going to go. You could kind of see Dunne was going to take the belt. Bate had it for a while. He defended it here and there. But it was time for somebody else to take it. And Dunne had a lot of momentum behind him at this point. He was doing very, very well. And personally, I think Dunne is the better wrestler in general. Don't just mean with his moveset. I think his character and his whole performance is better. But that's no disgrace to Bate. I think he's a top tier wrestler too. It's the British strong style wrestling. It's got a place in my heart. I absolutely adore it. And these pair just went at it again. The near falls left, right, and centre. This was it was NXT in NXT's heyday. We all know that NXT went downhill after the COVID era and NXT 2.0, which is it's good, but it's not what NXT used to be. And now obviously terraforming of Titan Towers. Thank you, Tom Campbell of Cultaholic, for that one. I love it. I'm borrowing it. Please don't sue me. Big shout out to Cultaholic. I love you guys. Now that Triple H is at the helm of WWE, we may see these pair a lot more, and we may see NXT go back to, not the black and gold, because obviously it's white and gold now, but we may see it go back to its old ways of NXT development and characters, which was, it has its positives and negatives, I'd say, because there's been some great characters come out of 2.0, your Bron Breakkers, your Grayson Wallers, LA Knight was part of the black and gold, But it's had some great characters. But yeah, nothing tops old NXT. Nothing tops old NXT. Well, for me anyway. And old NXT was where it was at. But yeah, anyway, this one was absolutely fantastic. The near falls were amazing. The fight that Bate put on to try and keep this title away from Dunn was amazing. But in the end, we all knew Dunn was going to take the belt. And I remember watching this. I think I was hungover and I was watching the pay-per-view hungover. And again, my eyes just got stuck to the screen on this one. It was absolutely sensational. I can't remember much of the card else was on the card, but this one's just always a standout for me. But yeah, big shout out to these pair. Coming in at number 3, it's a doozy. Yeah, you know it. TLC 2 for the tag team championship between the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, and the Hardy Boys. What else can I say? This was just full of spots. It was absolutely banging. The Hardy Boys, probably, I'd say, in their prime. The Dudley Boys, probably, yeah, all three of these tag teams were in their prime. Edge and Christian were doing great things. Both of I could have put either TLC match on this one. They've both got amazing spots, but the main one's got to top it for me, because it's that spot, isn't it, where Jeff's hanging off the belts and Edge spears him from above, and it's just absolutely classic. It's a classic one, and all 6 of these men should hold their heads up high and know that they did major things for tag team wrestling. And it's a shame that the tag team division isn't what it used to be, but hopefully now it will be more than it was under the old management, and that's all I'm going to say on that. But yeah, this was an absolute belter. I absolutely adore this. It's one of those that I go back and watch still. And if you haven't seen it, and you prefer your old WWE kind of stuff, then just go check this out. It's just great. I'm not a big fan of gimmick matches like your tables matches and your chairs matches. Ladder matches I don't mind, but this one is a banger. I don't mind the classics, steel cage, stuff like that, but yeah, this one was great. So yeah, coming in at number 2. I just look at this picture and it just makes me smile. NXT Takeover Dallas, Shinsuke Nakamura versus Sami Zayn. So Sami Zayn, I think he'd come back from injury and he didn't have an opponent for Takeover Dallas and Texas, sorry. And there was no idea who it could have been. I think this was the year that AJ debuted at the Rumble. It might have been, and there was rumblings that Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows had signed, as well as AJ Styles and potentially Nakamura. Styles and the Good Brothers went to the main roster and was like, "Where's Nakamura?" Nobody had no idea. Sammy comes out, I think it was the week before or 2 weeks before. He's like, "I need an opponent. I'm ready." Nakamura comes on the screen and just absolutely blew the audience away. Nobody was ready for it. The cheer, the pop was incredible. And then we get to the night, and Sammy comes out to his entrance music, doing all his shoulder stuff, like whacking his shoulders out of place, flinging his arms into the audience and reattaching them. And I love Sammy's entrance, but yeah, and he's doing all that. And then we hear one of the greatest pieces of wrestling entrance music ever, the Rising Sun, Nakamura's original theme. Well, it's one of the best. It's probably NXT's greatest theme back then. Maybe glorious second, I'd say, but it's just an incredible piece of music, and it's just so you hear just the first bit of the violin, it's Nakamura, straight away. It's so recognizable. It's absolutely sensational, and the strong style was all out in this match. Obviously, Nakamura was coming out from New Japan, and he was known to be a heavy hitter, the king of strong style, as we know. So he was doing it. He was battering Sami Zayn, and it was hard to watch in a way, because obviously Sami Zayn is such a lovable babyface in NXT. Obviously he's doing amazing work now with the Bloodline as a semi-babyface, semi-heel, but he's going to be a huge babyface when he finally turns on all the Bloodline and batters them, which my prediction is he's going to do it at Survivor Series War Games, or maybe a bit later, but I reckon it'll be War Games, and then we'll get Roman versus Sami on the build-up during WrestleMania season, so we'll probably face him at the Rumble or something, I'd say. But yeah, so Sami was big, lovable. Nakamura was battering him using the strong style, and then Sami twists it on him, and there's a bit where Nakamura's stomping Sami's head on the mat, and then fast forward a bit further on, and then Sami starts doing it as well, and it was very unusual for Sami to do a sort of thing like that in NXT. And again, just pure storytelling, but not just with there wasn't a massive, huge build-up with the feud, but the storytelling in the ring, the movements, the styles clashing. and just the haluva kicks coming at Sami. I love a haluva kick. I just love it. And the Blue Thunder Bomb as well. I just love Sami Zayn. Who doesn't love Sami Zayn? Sami Zayn gets on the screen and everybody's excited. Everybody's happy to see him. Nakamura, unfortunately, on the main roster has had a bit of a spill. But again, with Triple H at the helm, he was one of Nakamura, I think, was one of his boys. So I feel like we're going to get big things for Nakamura in the future. And finally, coming in at number 1, it is the only AEW match on here, but it's going to be, for anybody who knows me, you know exactly what it is. AEW hasn't been around long enough for me to have like lots of favourite matches from it. There's a few honourable mentions. Obviously, you've got the dog collar match between Punk and MJF, MJF and Darby. I'm going to mention a lot of MJF matches, unfortunately, but he's amazing, so it's not unfortunate, sorry. Jericho and Hangman was a banger. Kenny and Hangman was a banger. There's been a few, but none of them got me like this one. So number 1, Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam. An absolute wrestling masterclass. Kenny Omega was obviously AEW World Champion at this point. Bryan had not long joined the company. I think it was like a couple of months or something. And it wasn't a world title shot. It was just Bryan saying, I want to face you to prove that I'm better than you. And Kenny was like, you're not better than me. Let's go for it. So this was it? I think it's either 30 minutes or 60 minutes. I can't remember. It was a timed match. And for the first, 4 or 5 minutes, they just stared at each other in the ring. Didn't do anything. They just literally locked eyes, and the crowd, the energy coming off the crowd was insane. It was enough. It gave me goosebumps. It was one of those, you could just feel the energy, even through the TV. You just feel how excited everybody was to see this. Bryan at the top of his game. Bryan Danielson, to me, is the greatest professional wrestler in the world. He's my favourite. I've said this since the Daniel Bryan days in when he won the belt at WrestleMania 30. He is phenomenal. He is the best wrestler of this generation, and I will argue the toss with anybody who says otherwise. Kenny is arguably up there, but Bryan, for me, it's his personality, it's his character, it's his way of wrestling. It's his whole career from Ring of Honor and WWE, going through that awful bit in NXT, getting fired from WWE for choking Justin Roberts out and then coming back, winning the belts against Batista and Randy Orton, beating Triple H at WrestleMania, then beating Randy Orton and Batista on the same night to win the belts at WrestleMania. His Intercontinental win, that ladder match at WrestleMania 31. And then obviously had his retirement, which was really heartbreaking. And then he was fine and then he was okay to come back, and he had this amazing absolute belter. I could talk about it for hours. These pair just battered each other. Kenny was obviously battered at this point because he was still champion, but after this, and he lost the belts to Hangman. He's gone for his surgery and all this stuff, and he's having his break now. And obviously all that stuff's happened after all that, which I'm not going to get into. So Kenny's away at the moment, but if there was a match if I had to go up to somebody and show them a Kenny Omega match from AEW and say that Kenny is still as good as he was in Japan, it's this one. And same for Bryan. Bryan has not lost a foot ever. He's incredible. I could just talk about it all. He's had bangers in AEW. All of his matches have been bangers. He's had bangers with Jericho. They were incredible. And his Daniel Garcia matches were sensational. I love Bryan Danielson, and this match just means the world to me. And I love the fact that it came to a draw, the timer ran out. Bryan was this close to winning, and just after the timer had gone, Kenny tapped. It was, again, just storytelling through the movements, through the wrestling, just through the standing, facing each other, and the crowd going off. We knew we were in for a treat when this got announced. I was so goddamn excited to see this, and it was worth every moment, and it was just incredible. I could talk about it for hours. I'm not going to, but it's just incredible. But yeah, those are my 5 favourite wrestling matches. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know what your favourite wrestling matches are. Like I said, I don't know enough about New Japan. Impact, I know enough, but none of them are going to be my favourite matches, unfortunately. Not like old TNA, maybe, still with Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles. They are some bangers, but they are my 5 favourite wrestling matches. I want to know what yours are. If you want more wrestling content, do let me know. It's like I said, it's not something I like talking about much on the internet. But I'd love to share my wrestling experiences with you guys, with other people, with other fans. I adore wrestling, and I don't talk about it enough with enough people. It's something that I keep quite close to my chest. I share it with me and my dad, who are usually the only two people that I talk to about wrestling. I absolutely adore it. So yeah, if you want more of that, drop a like on this video, make sure to subscribe, ring the bell, drop comments saying more wrestling stuff, and I'll do it. I'll talk about anything. I don't care. I can talk about wrestling for days. You'll get bored of me talking about wrestling. That's how much I'll talk about wrestling. But yeah, thank you so much for sitting through this and watching it. I really do appreciate it. Do take care of yourselves. Thanks.